All right, so this next style of dance is contemporary, and it's an expressive style of dance that combines elements of several dance genres, including modern, jazz, lyrical, and classical ballet. So contemporary dance, like hip hop or kind of some of the dances that came later, uh, they are more of a mix or a mix and mash of different styles. But the goal of contemporary is to connect the mind and body through fluid dance movements, and usually to express some sort of idea or emotion. It's a very fluid movement and has more versatility and improvisation compared to ballet, which is stricter as a style. So ballet, there's certain movements you do that are already like pre-planned, pre-done, while contemporary does have a lot more improvisation. So that's kind of listening to the music and coming up with moves kind of on the fly, and your movement is less restricted. So basically, you get to move more of your body compared to like ballet, which you're moving a certain body part at a certain time with that music, um, and in a certain way. Like it has to be done in a certain way. Um, Contemporary dancers also use a lot more floor work, and usually it's done in bare feet, and it actually can be seen in a lot of music videos today. Music videos, dance videos. It's an extremely popular style of dance because it tends to show a lot of it's a very emotive style of dance. So it shows a lot of emotion. It shows a lot of the times it's like about love. Like the music is showing something where it's about love and it's about losing love or some sort of. It's just a very intense feeling, and the contemporary style goes with that feeling. Just a very emotive style of dance. And below you'll see a link to an example of contemporary dance. And like I said, the style is very emotive, and so that's contemporary. Tap is the next style, and tap is a type of dance that uses the sound of tap shoes striking the floor as a form of percussion. So the tap shoes have metal on the bottom, the heel, and the toe. And so this percussion, like drums, is keeping the rhythm, and basically, as you keep the rhythm, you it goes with the music. So the music will have some sort of rhythm as well, but you're kind of almost like it's like a separate um, like rhythm in itself. And there's several types of tap. So there's jazz tap, which focuses on musicality and improvisation of rhythms. A lot of the times, like someone will just play music, and then you'll have someone tapping, and there's no rhyme or reason. They just know it sounds good. The different rhythms. And postmodern is the next type, and it's also called contemporary tap. So we just learned about contemporary, and it uses abstract expression, thematic narrative, and technology. A lot of the times, it'll have a storyline, like it says, thematic narrative, but sometimes it is more abstract where it's maybe not necessarily about a certain place or person or thing. It's like a general idea, and it's more to paint that picture than to paint like a certain narrative. And technology meaning like lights or kind of just more tech when it comes to like the shoes itself as well. Classical is the next version. This is a lot of times like stuff you'll see when you think of tap. It's like um, there's classical music in the background, and it uses like a full body expression. Classical ballet and classical tap, while they have the word classical in them, are not very similar in the way that classical music uses the full, like, not classical music, classical tap uses that full body to express the rhythm, to express the emotion or the idea. Um, and compared to classical ballet, which again is like you can still emote and still have feeling, but it's a lot stricter when it comes to like how the body presents itself while it dances. So the next type is Broadway, which is also another like very famous type. It focuses on formations, choreography, and less complicated rhythms, and it's mostly performed in musical theater. So again, you'll see a lot of this in musical theater, like in shows that have tap, like on literally it's called Broadway, but on Broadway they'll use this type of tap in dances, and it has to be less complicated rhythms just because the actual piece is not about tap itself. It's usually to perform some sort of narrative and kind of add on to some sort of narrative, compared to like where jazz or like postmodern are very much it's just about the tapping, less so about like the actual narrative tied to it. So the next is traditional Indian dance, and so there's many types of Indian traditional dances, but two are Bharatanatyam, and so basically, the dancers have a fixed upper torso, they bend their legs, and they have flexed knees combined with fast, intricate footwork, and it's usually used to depict spiritual ideas or narratives. I myself was in a dance team. I did not perform Bharatanatyam, but I had friends who would perform Bharatanatyam, and so it's a lot of it is about the intricate footwork. A lot of it is about telling a story, and a lot of it is like it's like the torso doesn't necessarily move. It kind of stays the same the whole time, compared to like a style like hip hop where your torso does move. Your upper torso in Bharatanatyam is very isolated, and there's a video, a link down below. It's the second link, and that one shows the type, like what I mean when I say fixed upper torso. It just gives a really good example of like what that looks like. And so the second style is Bhangra, and this is one I've performed myself, but basically it's where a performance, in a typical performance, the dancers use kicks, leaps, and bends of the body to a double-ended drum. And so that can be kind of hard to imagine just describing it, which is why there's also a link. It's the first link, to kind of give an example of what that looks like. But in tradition, it's usually used to celebrate the Spring Harvest Festival in India, and it's connected to more of a patriarchal viewpoint, and includes what could be considered more masculine movements. So kind of like in Bharatanatyam, Bhangra, the torso, it moves up and down and side to side, but what we like to call it in on our team was you don't move from your toaster. So if you think of a toaster and you think of a piece of toast, the piece of toast is your torso. So the toast doesn't bend, right? Like it doesn't bend when you take it out, or when it pops out of the toaster. It completely stays straight. So in Bhangra, it's the same, where your torso doesn't necessarily bend when you're moving. It stays pretty straight, but it moves up and down and side to side. And the kicks and the leaps are usually pretty high. The bend is usually in the legs also, and it's kind of almost like usually you don't see a lot of sad Bhangra. You see a lot of like, it's very happy. It's very like, when they say masculine, it's almost like you're making your shoulders wider. You have really great posture, and it's just very like it's a loud expression of dance, which you can see if you click on the first link. Both styles are incredibly beautiful in their own right, and I would highly suggest looking at them because they're very cool. All right, hip hop is the next one. So hip hop started off as mostly a style called breaking, which involves a lot of floor work, but it's evolved into a new style that we now see in like music videos or commercials. Other types of hip hop that originated, besides breaking, is popping and locking as well. And basically, it's using your body as a way to kind of show the musicality in the music. So like if there's a like drum beat in the music, or there's like a hi-hat in the music, a lot of the times people, if they were like popping or locking necessarily, like if they were doing that to a beat, they would contract their muscles in the way that would emphasize that beat or that hi-hat. So however, this new style has become so big to the point where like competitions have included this new style, and it's really highly publicized through different dance videos on YouTube and shows like So You Think You Can Dance, where popping, locking, and breaking were the original three, also crumping, so four. Were the original four that kind of started off the hip hop movement, and a lot of times it was strictly to hip hop music. Compared to this new style where it may have a lot of movements come from those four styles, but it's not necessarily that whole style all the way through anymore. It's combination. The new hip hop is kind of it's like a combination of everything. A lot of the time you don't have good posture. A lot of the time it is more free movement. But it is very popular nowadays to kind of have a piece of choreo that's not just like breaking or not just popping. So like I said, this new style is very relaxed and almost has no rules, where the movement can tell a story and express emotion without boundaries. So there's a couple of links down below. There's like, when I call new hip hop, it's like the new style where, again, it's not popping and locking and breaking and crumping, but it kind of encompasses all of those and also none of those at the same time. But it's an interesting style and it's a lot of fun to do. The next is a contemporary hip hop. So this is hip hop has changed, but so is the music. So it's not just a hip hop music anymore. You can still do a form of hip hop or sometimes jazz funk, which is another version of hip hop. Kind of like breaking off, combining jazz and hip hop together. But contemporary hip hop is to contemporary music, and sometimes even using contemporary movements in hip hop, while also still being like very much a hip hop dance. And this example is with a dancer and another dancer who is in a wheelchair, and it's an amazing example of contemporary, where you have those lines in your movements, but while still being sharp and clean and all the things that hip hop is. And then the next is large scale hip hop team, and they were in a competition. This is like a lot of people all at once doing similar movements, and they practice so much that they have to look almost exactly the same. And so this is that, and it's a really, really good example of like how much fun hip hop can be and how different it also can be from different styles, but also how similar they are to different styles. So I would really highly suggest checking it out. So dancing at home. While during this quarantine, you can't really leave the house, unfortunately, to take a class. And a lot of the classes that you do take, or the dance classes that you do take, half the enjoyment is like being surrounded by other dancers and seeing them work hard and being inspired. But because we can't go out, there are dance classes online that you can take. So there's a lot of really good online tutorials, whether it be from YouTube or off an official site. Like there's an official site called CLI Studios that gives free classes from industry dancers. So if you're interested, it's like some really good experience and just a lot of fun usually, and like seeing how much you feel like you can learn. And so if you're interested in that, like let us know. And I can send over some easy access links to those. Or you can even find them online by yourself as well. If you just type up YouTube and the certain style you feel like you want to learn.